Anyway, Zombie Cube was the one who brought this up. If you walk across this gap, it feels like there's a random chance whether or not you actually cross it or ledge hang. And I also went ahead and calculated that. So I'm getting a lot of crosses here, but it's not guaranteed to work. There we go, we got a ledge hang just by running across the gap. I programmed the bot to do that. So here's what this one looks like. If I have all these settings cleared out. If I just run the bot, it's either going to succeed or fail, and it's going to report that result. So if I set it up in a few random spots, start the autoplay, it failed that time. I could do the same exact thing that I did for the stupid jump with the bot here instead to figure out the probability of getting across this gap. So I don't know if zombies watching or in bed or whatever, I don't know what you wacky people across the pond do with your lives while it's the middle of the day here in the States, but essentially I could do the same exact thing that I was doing with the stupid jump. This one will be quick because I'm not going to have to re-explain everything, so don't worry if you think you're about to sign up for another half an hour of this. Let's find the start and the fail. We're basically looking for the success and the failure points to do our test from. So I'm just going to test 14 units and it's a success. Let's test a little further out. And let's just try this. Start the run. And that's a failure condition. So we have our boundary. And we can do our binary search from here. Start it. And the bot is going to figure out when it switches from success to failure. You played with me. Oh, you were in that illegal eggplant run, weren't you? Well, I mean, obviously you didn't ruin the run, since we did it, I think. So, congratulations, you're officially better than the average ghost. Anyways, it took 18 checks for that one, probably because my coordinates are a little different, or maybe because I started a little further apart on my gap here, I don't know exactly. Either way, it's not going to take more than like a small number of checks to do this. Like, these are not going to really be higher than 20 with the kind of precision I'm using here. Anyways, we have a point that we can mark out. So this is when it switches from success to failure. I want to know now when it switches back to success. So let's just try like this coordinate right here. So turn off binary search. It switches back to success. So let's test the other coordinates. We're going to do this range, enable binary search, start autoplay, and let the bot do its thing. It is very important that the minimum and the maximums are on opposite sides of this switching point right here, where it switches from success or failure, or else the bot won't be able to home in on anything. So like just for example, let me mark the point out here. This is what it looks like for this particular jump. In this case, the failure is sandwiched in the middle instead of a success. It doesn't really matter. I can still get the numbers I want. And in fact, let me go calculate the numbers right now before I explain the next thing that I was going to. So just for anyone who was wondering, like the probability of being able to get across this gap here, that's the failure case. Because again, I just calculated the width of the failure case. So it's going to be 1 minus that, and it's a 62% chance of getting across this drop. So as opposed to the 54% chance that we had for the stupid jump, 62% of the time, if you run across this gap from a random starting position, you will make it. So that's how the numbers worked out for this. I forgot the other thing I was going to explain. Oh yeah, I was going to explain the fact that it is very important that the binary search is on opposite sides of the success and the failure. And the reason why that's important, I'm getting weird feedback in my headset. I might need to adjust it in a second here. Anyways, the reason why that's important is because if I do a binary search where I start with success and I end with success, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how to close in on the position that I'm looking for here. So for instance, if I were to do the binary search on like anything with any like 2 points within this little blue bar here, I would do the start point, I would do the end point. I guess I could check the middle point, but once I've checked the middle point, I don't know what side to go to look for the switching point because there isn't one. So the binary search only works if you're on opposite sides of the switch point where we go from failure to success or success to failure. I just wanted to clarify that that's an important characteristic of it. And then the other thing that you might be wondering is if I attempt to do this from like a really large range, like with several switch points from success and failure, like this example here, for instance, it will kind of work. It'll home in on one of the switching points in this gap. So for instance, if I turn off the binary search and run it, this is a success. So let's try 15 and see if that's a failure. 15 is a success as well. So let me just add a little bit of crust to it until it starts failing. Success. This is just kind of guess and check here because I don't know the exact increment for where this is going to switch to failure. Okay, it switches to failure here. So if I do the binary search with these two numbers, it is going to find one of the switch points. I don't know which one it's going to find, but it will just find one of them. That's what should happen here, if I understand this correctly. I haven't been testing this much because you're not really supposed to do this with the searching algorithm. But you know, why not? Let's just see what happens. See what it locks in on. Yeah, it's just locking in on one of the switching points in the middle. It doesn't really know what it's doing here, but it's hard to explain why that works. It just works. Just let it happen. That right there is a switch point between these two here. It's just the nature of the binary search algorithm lets you get away with doing that, but ideally you don't want to be doing that. You want to know what the frequency is for these points before you attempt to search for them, because otherwise you might wind up with two sample points within a single bar here, and then it won't be able to home in on anything. Or if you're too big, you don't know which one you're going to lock in on. Anyways, that's the other thing that I was showing there with the autoplay setup. Any more questions, or do we want to see the max jetpack height? I'm just going to hydrate for a second, give chat a moment if you have any more questions about the stupid jump or this drop here. And furthermore, if you have more suggestions for things you'd like me to do with this bot, like setups that you think are inconsistent, that don't work all the time, and you want me to try to automate them with this autoplay bot, can we do arrow traps? Yeah, okay, we can do the arrow traps. I did forget. Thank you for reminding me. Then we'll do the jetpack height. But anyways, if you have ideas for the bot, I'm not going to be able to implement them on stream because I have to program the bot to be able to do these various jumps. But if you have suggestions, you could throw them on my Discord in like the Spelunky section or the suggestions section. I don't really care. And if they're not unreasonably difficult, or if I don't know the answer off the top of my head, like I can do them in another stream in the future.